Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Informal back with another Mr. Informal podcast. There has not been a podcast in the last few weeks because I have been under the weather, or you can say I'm sick. And even now, well, I'm not saying I'm sick, but it's just allergies. So now I'm back in action so we can continue on with the Mr. Informal podcast because we are on the 52nd edition of the Mr. Informal podcast, and we got 4 topics that we need to talk about. So the first topic is Google's own problem in terms of their app services in Android. Number 2, Apple products prices keeps on rising even though there is not a major upgrade. Number 3, is the fashion industry learning from its mistakes regarding with sweatshops and factory condition? That's gonna be a big one. Last but not least, has fashion been stagnant or is it just hype right now? So that's gonna be an interesting topic that I am going to love to tackle, love to talk about, and hopefully you will listen to. And so I cannot wait to start this podcast. Well, we might as well start it out now. So let's get started with the Mr. Informal 52nd edition podcast. So Google has been having problems, inconsistency with their own app services in Android ecosystem. The biggest problem with them all is they can't figure out which one to use or which one to update, which one is going to be better for the consumers, which one is going to benefit the user. And for some reason they cannot figure it out. They made Google Hangouts, Google Voice, Google Wave, Google Allo, Google, what else? Duo. So Hangouts can do text messaging, and also Google and also webcam or cam chats. And now it was split into 2, which became Google Allo, and then Google Duo. Then you have another one which is the GChat, or even Google owns text messaging or Google Messages. It's so confusing. And yes, I am using Android, but I am not using Google owns messaging service, which I would love to, but for some reason they don't know which one to use and they don't know which one to update. I would love to use Hangouts. Hangouts to me is so much better. So why even split it into 2? What's the point of Google Allo? Google Allo is also going to be stopped, and Google Duo will also plan to stop. So what's next? So they're trying to figure out a messaging service that could just like Apple iMessage, but I think that they could improve on Google Hangouts. But for some reason they don't want to, and so things are getting confusing. And this is not the first time that Google tried to do this and it failed with Google Wave, Google Voice. Obviously, both of them are basically nothing now. It's not being updated and no one knows what's going on. And I don't know what's going on, but you can tell that there is no leadership in Google when you have this kind of problem in their Android or mobile platform development department. Like, who's calling the shots here? Is it HR? Is it the president of Google? Is it Eric Schmidt or whoever it is? Or it could be someone new. Why can't they just stick to one messaging platform? Or, you know what? I'm not even going to say messaging platform. I'll use this word. Why can't they just stick to one communication platform? Why don't you just call it Google Hangouts? Heck, if you're going to make a communication platform, make something new from the bottom starts from scratch. Not only that, if you make sure it's encrypted end to end, it's secure, just like Signal and Telegram. Or if you're gonna do it like just like Apple does, then obviously then you're gonna screw with the carrier. Why not? Apple does it. Why can't you? You're supposed to be the biggest, or Google's supposed to be the biggest Android ecosystem out there, and for some reason they can't use their leverage to do that. You can tell that Google doesn't like to argue and fight. To me, they're too soft, especially when it comes to cultural issues. Oh, even worse, racial issues. But that's another topic for another time. And so on to the second topic. Apple products prices are rising. Whether it be the MacBook Pro costing over $2,000, even their Apple MacBook costing over $1,200. When I remember, usually starts $800 and it became $1,000 and now it's $1,200. The worst part about it is the iPhone X costs $1,000, which costs more, or even the same price as an Apple MacBook, which an Apple MacBook can do more. But I mean, I just don't understand it. So what gives? Why is Apple raising up their price? Well, that's easy. To differentiate themselves from the market, to ensure that the perception that consumers give to Apple is at the top or the higher end. So they want to be seen as an upscale, as a luxury, as a premium brand or a quality brand compared to others, even though inside of their products and quality inside and the components of their items or products are the same as the other competition. The perceived value or the added perceived value in their products is what's costing it so high. Not only that, they also like to have their profit margins very high. And that's all there is to it. A lot of their fans, a lot of their fanboys, fangirls, they're over the top fans, the dedicated ones and the loyal ones will buy anything and everything that is made by them, even though the prices is so high. Even if there is another product or another brand that has the same item and is lower, they will not buy. They will always straight go to Apple. Give you one example: the 6-foot long Apple Lightning cord. Yeah, people will buy at the Apple store even though they could get it from another place, whether it be that Best Buy, whether it be Amazon, eBay. Now they're gonna argue with you, well, it has to be certified by Apple. Well, of course, but that's why you look at the back of the label or the packaging to ensure that. But there's no point of arguing with these fans, and obviously Apple will never admit to it. And I'm sure you've heard the recently news that Apple knew about their phones bending. So that is absolutely crazy to pay that much, and for some reason they knew the defects of the phone, and yet people are still willing to buy it. And that is one of the reasons why I don't buy Apple products. The only one that I would buy instantly is maybe the iPhone SE or the Apple iPod Mini or the Nano. I think the Apple iPod is still overpriced. I would rather just buy an iPhone SE 32 gig for the same price as an iPod, knowing that an iPhone SE does more than an iPod. So I don't know why Apple raising up the price. Well, actually, I do know why. And another reason that I forgot to mention is obviously inflation. But that's just gonna be part of life. But For all the people who keeps buying Apple products, please do your research first. Stop going with the hype. Stop going with the name. Stop going by the updates. Do your research first and make your money work. Have the value mindset. Make sure that whatever you're buying will benefit you in the future. If you're gonna buy an Apple product, how long do you think it will last you? 5 years, 10 years? Most likely 1 year, 2 years? Then it's not worth it. But if you believe certain products of iPhone are worth it, which I do think that there are certain products that Apple makes that are worth it, then yeah, it is worth buying. But just make sure, think with your head, think with your mind, stop thinking with your heart. So, has the fashion industry learned from its mistake with the collapse of the factory in Bangladesh? That was 2 years ago. And I'm just going to answer it straight up. No, it has not. Let's be honest. Fast fashion is in trend right now, and that's what's selling, and people want their items to be there at the store at a moment's notice or the moment they see the collection. And sad to say that with this type of trend or with this type of ways of bringing fashion to the consumer as quickly as they can, quality has to be compromised. And a lot of these companies don't want to admit, but they're dealing with factories that are not even certified or not even approved by inspectors. But the worst part about it is these inspectors are also getting paid by the factory, so that's why they're getting a pass. So what they need to do is, man, I know they've done so many legislations, so many plans, so many system ways of trying to find out what's wrong, but it's just not going at the right way. I truly think that there's no way that the fashion industry is gonna control this other than these brands would have to make a factory of their own, meaning had their own factory to produce from. I always wonder why they never do that, but they never do that because they don't want to be at fault and they don't want to take responsibility for any mishaps, any injuries, or any harm that can happen in their factory. That's why they outsource a lot of their production to overseas. That way, if something happened, they don't want to be at fault. It's like, hey, these people never told us this, we didn't know, so and so we're just gonna leave, and we're just gonna find a new factory, and so the cycle goes on and on and on. It's a sad state of affairs here. And in the end of it all, as long as we consumers not take actions or actually not be aware of what's going on in regards to these types of problems, it will never go away. We consumers must demand change, but that's not happening because people tend to focus on other problems than this. But at the same time, people in the world are being affected, and it's all caused by us. If you don't understand that US is actually the number one customer of any brand in the world, they always target US because the US is the number one consumer of the world. But that's what I mean, is that if you don't demand action, if you don't take the change, if you don't take responsibility, and if you are not conscious enough to understand how these problems occur and the chain reaction that it can have, then obviously you're not going to demand change. But me, I work in the fashion industry, and there's always these customers, these brands always want fast, because they know if the trend dies down, they're not gonna make sale, and that's what matters. Is just money. Money makes the world go round. But at the same time, if we don't demand change from these brands and we tell them, hey, we're not going to buy them, we're not going to buy your items because of the factories you're dealing with, you're not taking care of these factory workers, then we're not going to buy it. And that's what we need to do. So the last topic for today, is fashion stagnant right now, or is it just hype right now? That is the question. So what is the answer? Well, to me, it's fashion will never be stagnant. Never. You can also define what you mean by stagnant. Is it being stagnant for a year, for a month, for a week? Yeah, fashion can be stagnant for a week, but fashion will always change. It's always an evolution. Whether it can go back to the previous trend, whether we look at that and then the same trend comes back after a decade, so and so. So it really depends. But fashion always change. It's not gonna stay at a particular trend for a couple years. No, it's always going to change. But the answer to me is it's all hype right now. Whether it be the name Kanye West, that's hype. It's not even about the quality. Virgil Abloh, that's hype. Raf Simons used to be quality, but now it's just hype. You know, Kim Jones. I mean, I didn't see anything special from him when he was in Louis Vuitton. That's all hype right now. I mean, I'm trying to think of certain designers who are quality. Well, actually, I can. That's Izzy Miyake, Rick Owens, Carolina Herrera, Valentino. But at the same time, a lot of these luxury brands are just starting to be hype. Now, I think it's just a stage that we are in right now, and that's what I mean. That fashion is always changing, whether it's a particular stage, a particular moment, or a particular trend. It's always going to move on. But right now, it is all hype. A lot of these brands are using social media to build up hype, to build up momentum, to build up sales, obviously, because they have to make money, and to also have some cult following, whether it be the shoes, sneakers, whether it be the clothing, from jackets to shorts, or whether it be an independent boutique trying to show the other new consumers that, hey, we are local, we are locally grown, homegrown, local mill, local fabrics, local source, all that stuff, and we are organic. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, there's so many reasons. And when you are marketing, you kind of am building hype. But hype right now is more of, okay, is the items really that good, or is it just hype? Are people just waiting in line just to have it, not to own it? There's a difference between having it and own it. Owning it meaning you're going to own it for life. Having it, you're just gonna have it, and then after the trend dies down, you're gonna sell it. That's what I mean. Or are you one of those resellers who's taking advantage of the hype, trying to make sure you buy it and then you sell it for a higher price? I mean, I'm not mad at that. But at the same time, you can see where I'm going with this. Fashion is hype right now. Any moment, at any time, a brand can go to Instagram, can go to Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever it may be, and say, hey, I have these shirts, I have celebrities endorsement, it's only going to be available today, boom. And then suddenly the hype goes up, people are waiting in line, we got kids, we got adults, we got old people buying it, everyone's buying it. You see on TV, you see in social media, suddenly the resellers are taking advantage, and there goes hype. I mean, that's what I mean. Fashion is hype right now. And there's going to be at a point where we're going to get sick and tired of that, and fashion always changes, and then we're going to reach to a point where we're going to falling in love with quality made goods again. And hopefully that day comes sooner than expected. And so that basically concludes the Mr. Informal podcast, the 52nd edition of Mr. Informal podcast. I hope you enjoy listening to me. I hope you learned something. And if you do have any further comments, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my website. That's mrinformal.com. MRINFORMAL.com. Add me on Instagram. MISTERINFORMAL. That's Mr. Informal. And so I will see you in the next podcast. Bye bye.